purpose of this mini lesson today is to talk to you about something super exciting. It's something that we're going to use all year long in science, and that is something called the CER, or Claim, Evidence, and Reasoning. Now, the reason this is one of the reasons we do this is because it helps us to think like a scientist. So it helps us to really clearly communicate what we know, how we know it, and then tie those pieces together to explain how our evidence supports our claim. And all of these pieces work together to just create a really logical way to show what we're thinking. Why does this matter, particularly for us right now, today? We are actually going to organize the conclusion section of our formal investigative report in this CER format. So you can see on my screen right now the word conclusion to indicate that it's the conclusion section, and then the sub kind of labels of claim, evidence, and reasoning, and then also improvements. And we'll talk about that in class later this week. Okay, so let's get into it. This might even be where you'd like to get a notebook out so that you can write some of this down. So feel free to pause the video, grab that notebook, and then unpause when you have that in front of you. So our claim is going to be a statement that answers the question and restates the question in your answer. It's just one sentence. So the cool thing about your claim, it is just a single sentence. It does not start with a yes or no. Sometimes you're going to be tempted to start with a yes or no because you'll be answering a question, but a good claim does not start with those words. A good claim also doesn't go into giving reasoning. So it doesn't say like, I think this because. It doesn't include a because. And we also don't want to refer to ourselves. And when we refer to ourselves, we're using those personal pronouns. So pronouns like I, we don't want to use those. Okay, you're just kind of answering the question. Again, the question that you're answering is, what can you conclude? And really, when we dig down into it, your claim is going to describe the relationship between your dependent and independent variables. We've been talking about variables in our ball toss lab, and your claim will describe how those are connected. Okay, so let me show you an example of a claim. So here I have my Bitmoji, right? And a cat. So maybe the claim I might make about this is, Mrs. Cheryl is not allergic to cats. So notice I didn't start with a yes or no. There's no because, there's no I. It's very matter of fact, just one sentence. That's a good claim. The next part of our CER is the E, which stands for evidence. This is going to be the data that we use to support our claim. We want to collect both qualitative and quantitative data, so qualities and numbers. This ensures by having a variety of data that we have enough data to draw some conclusions about. The evidence must be specific. This is sometimes where students might say something like, I caught the ball more with 2 hands than 1 hand, but that's not very specific. It would be better to say something like, I caught the ball 10 times with 2 hands and only 5 times with 1 hand. That's a lot more specific and a better piece of evidence. So let's take a look at my Bitmoji again. Remember, my claim was Mrs. Cheryl is not allergic to cats. And here's one of my pieces of evidence. Mrs. Cheryl has 1 cat sitting on top of her head, okay? Now, it wouldn't be a very good CER for me to only include 1 piece of evidence. Normally, I want to include at least 3 pieces of evidence. And this is a great opportunity for many of you to go above and beyond and include even more pieces of evidence. Okay, that will really just show me that you're thinking more deeply about how to support your claim. Okay, so the last portion of our CER is that R portion, which is our reasoning. And this is often the trickiest one for students to come up with an idea for. So our reasoning is going to really connect our claim and our evidence. So it shows how and why the evidence supports the claim. You're going to analyze the evidence to explain why it matters. Why does it matter that you caught the ball with 2 hands 10 times and the ball with 1 hand only 5 times? How does that prove your claim? This is where if there's some science behind your evidence, you're also going to be sure to include that. So going back to my cat example, remember my claim was Mrs. Cheryl is not allergic to cats. My evidence was she's got one sitting on her head. And now my reasoning is going to be this shows, those keywords, this shows. If you are writing down a notebook right now, I would write that down next to reasoning because that's almost always how your reasoning statements are going to start. So this shows that Mrs. Cheryl is not allergic because people that are allergic to cats normally avoid them. So I'm explaining why that evidence matters. How does the piece of evidence that I listed support my claim? Since reasoning is tricky, right now on my screen, I also have some additional sentence starters. You might want to write some of these down so you have these to reference throughout the year. Excuse me. So ones like this shows, this proves. These are all great words to use when you're working on your reasoning. Okay, so let's do a little bit of practice, okay? So right now on my screen, I have a picture of a cat, and I have the question, is the cat going up or down the stairs? So I'm going to model how I would create a CER about this picture. And this is actually one of your practice tasks later on in these slides as well. So the first thing I'm going to come up with is my claim. So I think the cat is going up the stairs. That's my claim, okay? Notice one sentence, no yes or no, no I or because, just the fact of what I think. My evidence then, I might say, in the picture, I see the cat's paws kind of raised over the edge of the step. The cat also looks like they're angled in a way that makes me think they're going up the stairs. Then my reasoning, this shows that the cat is going up the stairs because I know that when cats are going up the stairs, their paws normally kind of curve up and that causes their body then to angle. Okay, that's just one example of how I could create a CER about this picture. Now, if you've ever seen this picture before, you know it's an optical illusion. So I don't know if there's actually a right answer. It's up to you to support your claim with evidence from the picture. Awesome. So hopefully by watching this video, you have a better understanding of what I mean when I say CER. Our claim is that statement that's going to answer the question. Evidence is the scientific data and details that support our claim. And reasoning explains the how and the why. Why does that evidence support our claim? CER is really important, and we will use it quite often in science this year. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or ask to meet with me one-on-one so I can re-explain a part of this to you. See ya!